Some groups spend years in the planning stage before they're able to make their sacred space a reality. Others happen much more quickly. Sacred Path Center, a community center in St. Paul, Minnesota, falls into the quick category. They created a Facebook page for donations mid-January of 2009, signed a lease for the building on January 31st, and then opened their doors February 13th, 2009. They started out with only $1,500 in the bank, a small group of volunteers, and a special deal worked out with their new landlord.
The landlord had made a deal with us so we didn't have to pay rent for the first 2 months because we didn't have any remodeling or anything we wanted done. So all of a sudden we had at least some working capital to make it happen.
$1,500 isn't much for working capital. It wasn't until after the doors opened that Sacred Path Center started fundraising in earnest.
There's been a lot of other groups, especially in the Twin Cities, that have tried, I mean all over the place, but the ones I know of are in the Twin Cities, of trying to fundraise first, and then with the idea that someday, somewhere in the future, we'll have enough money and we'll build something, we'll do something, whatever. Some said we were putting the cart before the horse by signing the lease and then seeing if the money would come. But I think people are really skeptical about putting their money into something that doesn't exist yet.
Asking for donations is challenging for any group. Sacred Path Center board member C.J. Stone explains that when you fundraise within the pagan community, you run up against deeply ingrained cultural attitudes about money that make it even more difficult.
I would say the people who are running this are what I would call new school pagans, not old school pagans. Old school pagans tend to be distrustful of the man, and anybody who asks for money is the man. So anybody who asks for money, they distrust. Whereas the new school pagans, they've been pagans for a long time. They kind of chose it. There was nothing wrong with it. They weren't hiding anything. It wasn't an act of rebellion. And so this is the life they live. And they have resources that they're ready to give to living the life they live.
Right, there are certain things that if you want things to happen, this is how it works. And I think modern pagans are beginning to come around on that point, but there's something really deeply ingrained that you don't give money to the man, as you were saying.
Donations are just one revenue stream for the community center.
We wanted several streams of income. That was key, we thought. It needed to be more than just room rental. So we have the room rentals, we have the healing center where our healers pay rent, we have the gift shop, we have membership, we're membership driven, and then just flat out donations, and are constantly looking for other ideas of what we can do.
Even with multiple streams of revenue, a financial crisis hit the center 6 months after they opened their doors and almost shut them for good.
We had fallen behind because the income was not coming in at the level that we had planned on. And we had fallen behind with rent and things were coming to a crisis point. They were saying, come up with the money or get out, as you know, that's how it works. And we told the community, here's what's going on, and if you want your community center to stay, we need your help. And we had no idea if they would step forward or not, and they did beautifully.
The community came together and raised the funds to keep the center open, and they survived the crisis. But they had to find a way to achieve financial sustainability.
We are working harder at getting more people in here renting space. It's much more full of rented space now than it had been 18 months ago, which isn't a surprise. I think 6 months into it, when our big crisis happened, that's kind of a key spot for most businesses. They get over their initial influx of money and then go, oh no, now what?
The center is able to operate on less revenue due to very active and involved volunteers and a dedicated director who isn't depending on income from the center.
One of the things that has made this community center successful is her. She has been here and has done it for the last 2 years. You know what she's been paid for the last 2 years? $500. I think the volunteers are really the backbone of SPC. Started with this gal like right here, just like I said before. She probably does more than anybody else, but she's first among equals, that's what I'll say. But essentially, everyone who staffs the gift shop is a volunteer, and that makes it possible for us to exist. Their largesse means we don't have to carry a payroll or deal with any of that. We needed walls built here. People came, they brought the materials, they built the walls. We needed new rooms created. They did it. The Ancestor Shrine, that represents about 50 hours of work. One person essentially doing all of that work with some help from other people, holding the bits together while he sawed it or something like that. That's a volunteer effort. I cannot stress how much we roll on our volunteers.
Absolutely. And it's every little minute thing. I mean, people don't always remember that the floors have to be vacuumed and the toilets scrubbed and, the really unglamorous parts of this. And it's people coming in and saying, I've got rubber gloves. I don't care if I'll clean the bathroom. That's fine. Yeah, volunteers are absolutely
Absolutely.
essential. They are the heart and soul of everything we do.
Sacred Path Center was able to open and stay open due to multiple streams of revenue, the more than full-time efforts of Director Tisha McGee, involved board members like CJ Stone, and the dedication of their volunteers and the support of the community. Recently, the center celebrated a milestone, their 2-year anniversary. In the final part of this series, we'll look at the profound effects the center has had on the pagan community in the Twin Cities area. For PNC Minnesota, I'm Kara Schultz.